Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Today in the rLounge, some parents just don't get it. They can cry, guilt trip, and invent crises all they want. But at the end of the day, missing the wedding doesn't make them victims. It just means they missed the point. Entitled parents said my wedding was too close to my sister's divorce, so I uninvited them. I got engaged after 4 years with my partner. We'd been talking about marriage for a while, and when it finally happened, I was excited to share the news with everyone. Called my parents the next day to tell them. Mom answered, and I could tell something was off. She congratulated me, but her voice sounded distant. She asked if she could call me back later because she was dealing with something. The day after that, my sister called me in tears. Her marriage was falling apart. Her husband had been cheating with someone from his gym, and she'd found out. I spent hours on the phone with her, listening to her cry and vent. She was devastated, but also relieved in a way. She said she'd suspected something for months. When she finally calmed down, she asked about my engagement. I told her about the October wedding. She said that sounded perfect, and she'd absolutely be there. I posted the engagement announcement online and got flooded with congratulations. My sister even commented with heart emojis, saying how happy she was for me. Everything seemed fine. Sent out save the dates digitally to immediate family about a week later. Just the basics. Parents, sister, a few aunts and uncles, some cousins. Nothing big yet, since we were keeping the actual guest list pretty tight. Then Mom called again. She asked if we could push the wedding back a bit. I asked her why. She said my sister was going through a hard time and it would be insensitive to have a wedding soon after her divorce was finalized. I reminded her that my sister hadn't even filed for divorce yet. She said that was beside the point. I talked to my partner about it that night over a video call. We both agreed we weren't changing anything. The venue deposit was already paid and we'd save the dates. Plus, my sister had literally told me she was fine with October. We decided to stand firm. I texted Mom the next day and told her we weren't changing the date. She responded saying I was being selfish and that my sister needed support right now. Not a reminder of failed marriages. My sister texted me asking if Mom had said something to me. I told her exactly what happened. She was confused and said it was ridiculous. She told me not to change anything for her and that she was completely fine with October. She seemed genuinely baffled that Mom was making this an issue. We decided we needed to call my sister directly and confirm she was actually upset about this. We called her that evening and she was so confused. She said she never told Mom she had a problem with the wedding. She said Mom had been catastrophizing her divorce and acting like she was on the verge of a breakdown when really she was doing fine. She was actually relieved to be getting out of her marriage. That's when I realized Mom was completely making this up. She was creating drama where there wasn't any. I sent a group text to my parents and sister, said we needed to clear the air and asked my sister to confirm she was okay with the October date. She replied immediately saying she was completely fine and excited to be there. I waited to see what Mom would say. 2 hours later, Mom replied saying my sister was just being nice and that she knew her daughter better than anyone. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My sister had literally just said she was fine and Mom was still insisting she knew better. That's when I snapped. I sent a text to my parents telling them if they couldn't be happy for me and support my wedding, then they shouldn't come. I said I wasn't changing the date and I wasn't going to keep defending my choices. Dad texted back, calling me a bridezilla. Said they raised me better than this. That one hurt because I wasn't being unreasonable. I was literally just planning my wedding on the date we'd chosen. My sister was fine with it. Everyone else was fine with it. Only my parents had a problem. I showed all the messages to my partner. We both agreed this was getting completely out of hand. We decided if they sent one more guilt trip, we'd officially uninvite them. Didn't have to wait long. Mom sent a voice message a couple of days later. She went on for 3 minutes about how I was abandoning my sister in her time of need and how real family would postpone their happiness for each other. I sent a clear message to both parents, told them they were uninvited from my wedding, said their behavior had been manipulative and unsupportive, and did not contact me about this again. My phone exploded immediately. Mom called 6 times in a row. Dad sent a string of angry texts calling me ungrateful and disrespectful. I blocked them both. I was done. My sister called the next day. She was furious at our parents, not at me. She said she'd just gotten off the phone with Mom, who was playing the victim and crying about being excluded. My sister had told her off and said if she didn't go to my wedding, she was choosing this ridiculous hill to die on. One of my cousins texted me a few days later asking what was going on. Apparently, Mom had called her crying about being excluded from my wedding. I sent her screenshots of all the conversations. She replied saying she was sorry I was dealing with this and that it was completely unfair. My aunt called me about a week later. She's my mom's sister, and she said Mom had always been dramatic, but this was next level. She asked if I was really uninviting them, and I said yes. She told me Good for me. Said I shouldn't have to deal with that manipulation. Wedding planning continued without my parents, and honestly, it was peaceful. My partner's parents stepped up and offered to help with anything we needed. They were excited and supportive, and everything my own parents should have been. My sister came to visit for a weekend. We went dress shopping together. She helped me pick out my dress, and we had the best time. We didn't talk about our parents at all. It was refreshing. Sent out official invitations early this summer. My parents weren't on the list. My sister was maid of honor. The guest list was 87 people, and every single one of them was someone who actually supported us. We finalized the guest list and moved forward with all the planning. No parents, no drama. Just excitement for the day. Had my bachelorette party in the summer, and my sister planned the whole thing. My partner's parents hosted a small dinner for close family and friends a couple weeks before the wedding. My sister was there. My parents weren't. Nobody missed them. The final week before the wedding, my sister stayed with us to help with last-minute preparations. She told me our parents had been calling her constantly, asking her to convince me to let them come. She'd been ignoring most of the calls. We had the rehearsal dinner, and my uncle walked me through the ceremony since my dad wouldn't be there. My partner's father offered to walk me down the aisle, and I said yes. It felt right. He'd been more of a father to me in the past few months than my own dad had been in years. The wedding day came, and everything was perfect. The weather was beautiful. The venue looked exactly how we'd imagined. All 87 guests showed up, and not a single person asked about my parents. My partner's dad walked me down the aisle, and I didn't feel like anything was missing. My sister stood beside me as maid of honor, and she was beaming. The ceremony was everything we wanted. My sister was thriving despite her divorce. My in-laws were amazing. My extended family members, who mattered, had all shown up for me. And my parents had shown me exactly who they were. I believed them. The wedding was perfect. My marriage was perfect. And my life was better without their toxicity in it. I didn't regret inviting them. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. Update 1. Got back from our honeymoon and had about 40 messages waiting from various family members. Most were congratulations on the wedding. 3 were from friends of my parents asking what really happened because apparently my mom had been spreading her own version of events around. My sister forwarded me a screenshot a day after we got back. Mom had posted in her book club's group chat that I had banned her from my wedding because I wanted all the attention and couldn't stand that my sister was going through something difficult. My sister had been added to the group chat months ago for some reason and saw everything Mom was saying. The post made me out to be this selfish monster who cared more about being the center of attention than supporting family. I decided to set the record straight, made a private post visible only to extended family and close friends, laid out the entire timeline, the repeated requests to change my date, the emotional manipulation, the threats not to attend, my decision to uninvite them after they wouldn't stop, attached screenshots of the key text conversations so nobody could say I was making it up or exaggerating. Posted it and logged off. The fallout was immediate. My aunt called the next day and said half the family was horrified by my mom's behavior. Nobody knew the full story. My mom had been telling everyone that I uninvited her out of nowhere because I was punishing her for being close to my sister. She'd painted herself as this devoted mother who just wanted to protect one daughter and got cast aside by the other. Complete fiction. My cousin commented on my post saying she'd always known my mom was manipulative, but this was beyond anything she'd imagined. She apologized for not reaching out sooner. Said if she'd known the extent of it, she would have said something. My dad's brother called a few days later. He'd seen the post. Said he confronted my dad about it, and my dad had admitted that Mom had been a bit much, but instead I should have just changed the date to keep the peace. My uncle told him that was the dumbest thing he'd ever heard. Said keeping the peace shouldn't mean sacrificing your own wedding plans because someone else is being unreasonable. Fast forward about a week, and my sister told me that Mom had called her sobbing. Said the family was turning against her because of my post. My sister told her that people were reacting to her own actions, not anything I'd done. My mom hung up on her. My sister came over for dinner in early November. She told me our parents had been fighting constantly. Dad was upset that Mom's behavior had cost them relationships with multiple family members. Mom was doubling down on it and insisting she did nothing wrong. She was blaming me for everything, saying I'd turned the family against her by posting those screenshots. My sister said the fights were getting bad. My aunt called me about a week later with an update. She'd gone to lunch with my mom to try to talk some sense into her. Mom spent the entire lunch complaining about me and insisting she was the victim in all of this. My aunt eventually cut the lunch short and told her she needed to take accountability for her actions. Mom accused her of taking sides and said she expected her own sister to support her. My aunt told her she couldn't support someone who refused to see what they'd done wrong. My uncle told me that several family members had stopped inviting my parents to gatherings. They didn't want to hear more drama. Thanksgiving was coming up and my parents hadn't been invited to the family gathering for the first time in decades. He said it was a collective decision. Nobody wanted to deal with Mom's victim narrative and Dad's excuses. My sister confirmed she was spending Thanksgiving with us. She said her parents had assumed she'd come to their house, but she told them she had other plans. They'd been upset and tried to guilt her into coming, but she didn't budge. She was done with their manipulation too. Thanksgiving was amazing. I had dinner with my partner, my sister, my uncle, aunt, 2 cousins, and my partner's family. Nobody mentioned my parents. Nobody asked about them. It was the most peaceful holiday I'd had in years. My sister brought her new boyfriend, and everyone got along great. We ate, laughed, played games, and just enjoyed each other's company. My aunt reported around mid-December that my parents had been uninvited from the annual family Christmas party. The host was my dad's cousin, and he told them directly that their drama wasn't welcome. Said until they sorted themselves out, they weren't included in family events. My aunt said it was harsh but necessary. Everyone was tired of their tension. My sister and I went holiday shopping together. She said her divorce was almost finalized, and she was doing great, better than she'd been in years. She said leaving her husband was the best decision she'd ever made, and cutting off her parents was a close second. Christmas was perfect. Spent it with the same group as Thanksgiving, plus a few more friends. My sister brought her boyfriend again, and they seemed really happy together. I thought about reaching out to my parents exactly 0 times during the holidays. Honestly, what you did was perfect. You stuck to your date, ignored the manipulations, and surrounded yourself with people who actually cared. The wedding you got? Calm, joyful, exactly what it should have been. Your parents' version of support clearly doesn't include supporting anyone's happiness. But your partner's dad? Now that's what family looks like. He got the honor your dad didn't even earn a thought for. Honestly, they weren't missing a wedding. They were missing the point. And now, you get the satisfaction of having the life and celebration you actually wanted, while they cry into their own manufactured chaos. Would you rather have a perfect wedding without your parents, or a chaotic one with them? Let us know in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.